It's heartbreaking. Young girls, young boys, very dangerous indeed.
School-going
and
age.
those who also are subject to sexual assault, sexual abuse, rape, and the like. It's very, very, very worrying indeed. Well, that's one leg of the conversation.
Yeah. But Helen,
yes,
has it crossed your mind to ask how they're able to have children?
How so? How do you mean?
My point is that these are young, they are kids, as we call them. They are children, they are infants. My point is that woman so-called that we see sitting over there begging, that we believe she has nothing at all to do, her life is hanging on a thread. How did she produce the child? They have the peace of mind to have sexual relationship with other men. If they are forced into that sexual relationship, then that means there is a cause for us to arrest these men because they are molesting these women. I hope you get it.
That's right.
Yes. So it's a two-pronged thing. It is either they connive with the men or the men are raping them. So we need to interrogate these things and deal with it. I don't want to be reading statistics. I want to see reality on the ground. All these children can be taken to homes. Can you imagine if these children were picked up from, let's say, Atomic or School Junction or Fiesta Royal and taken straight to, let's say, Cape Coast and put at a home where they are taken care of? Your parents will not see you anymore. Let's see whether these parents would like to bring their children back on the streets. If the parents are picked up, pick them up, take them to some farms, let them go and work. Because some of them say they don't deserve to work for the Ghanaian. All they do is that go to Accra Mall. We've even missed Accra Mall. At Accra Mall, the roundabout, yes, they are there.
That's right.
The moment you get out of the gate, they are at you. You get it? So I think we shouldn't have all these things. So sometimes they do all these things, they vote money to say we are going to do ABC. After that, then they come back on the streets. Who is responsible? Who is accountable?
Somebody is in their office today. Maybe the air condition is on and they have been tasked to do this job.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. Let's move on to another leg of the discussion. And this is something that the Interior Minister also mentioned during yesterday's accountability series. We'll talk about election violence, and then we'll talk about what the OSB had to say about potential attacks on his person. Let's take a listen to the Minister.
Since the submission of the last report, further progress have been made in the investigation across all the cases investigated so far. A total of 26 suspects have been put before the court. One has since been discharged, while 25 are currently standing trial. Of these two additional suspects, James Kojo Ousu alias Kudus and Kwame Edutum alias Hardman have since been arrested in connection with the lynching of the late Jacob Nlo. This brings the total number of suspects arrested in Offenso North Constituency to 6, all of whom have been put before the court. In the Banda constituency case, suspect Gabriel Yao Eje alias Abodie has been arrested in connection with the murder of Silas and has been arraigned before Adabraka District Court. The police are also pursuing suspects who remain at large, particularly Alhaji Latif Abdul Latif Kopshe, who is wanted on a warrant, has been published in the Police Gazette. In addition, 13 other suspects identified as being connected to the cases are being pursued to assist with the investigation. The police will continue to pursue all outstanding suspects and support the prosecution of those already before the court. The public will be duly informed of further development as the investigations and prosecution progress. And the police is also open that members of the public who have information on all these other 13 persons that have been pursued will be most welcome to provide those additional information. At the Yankpala, in the Tolon constituency, escalated into an armed confrontation in which armed men fired indiscriminately, including into an NDC pavilion area, resulting in the death of one Shaibu Haruna and injuries to others. Suspects in the matter. The prime suspect in the matter are Alhaji Abdul Latif Kopshi and Wan Sankara. Effort to apprehend the suspects who, since the incident, have relocated from the community are yet to be successful. It has been established, however, that despite this absence from the community, forms were picked for suspect Alhaji Abdulateef Kopshi to contest as unopposed in the just recently MPP internal election at the constituency, and he was retained as youth organizer unopposed. Three suspected pistols and one CZ rifle were retrieved during the investigation. Upon examination at the Police Forensic Science Laboratory, one pistol was found to have fired 3 spent shells retrieved from the crime scene. Efforts are continuing to monitor and arrest the suspects.
Yesterday at the Government Accountability Series. We'll come back and talk about this, but this message here is from Adobia. And Adobia says, as for security agencies, I don't blame them. How do you expect something better from people who are recruited based on whom you know? Ghana has a big problem. Adobia, good morning to you. Thank you so much for that message. But this one has to do with election violence. And if you were listening there just now to the Interior Minister, he says the public will be duly informed of further developments as investigations and prosecution progress. And the police are also hoping that members of the public who have information on all these other 13 persons being pursued will be most welcome to provide that additional information. Patrice, yes. Do you have faith that we'll finally see some conclusion to these issues concerning election violence?
It will be difficult for me to say a yes or a no, but I just will speak based on the trends that I have experienced. Like I said, we've been divided so distinctly into supporting or wanting to support or seemingly seeing the state as being one side NDC, the other side NPP. So the moment something happens in the course of elections and it is attributed to one person, quickly that politician will wake up and say that, oh, because it is NDC, that is why you looked on unconcerned and you took on the NPP person. Converse, oh, because it is NPP, that is why you looked on unconcerned, and then these things ought not be happening. So the case in point that comes straight to mind is when one of such persons, with a lot of authority from wherever he got it, slapped a sitting member of parliament. The matter went to Shraj, and we were just dawdling around it. These are the things that I don't understand. Something is there physically for you to see. The person slapped the other. Even if you were provoked, did you have to do that as a state security? Even if you were provoked, did you have to do that as somebody who works at the state authority? What kind of orientation do you have? What kind of training did you have? The reason people say and conclude that these guys are not security operatives because they do not operate as such. If somebody provokes you, what do? You step back, get back, call your superior, let them deal with the person, but you slap the person. In
fact, we don't see these sort of de-escalation tactics ever being deployed. No. Everything goes from 0 to 100 almost immediately. Straight. And training will tell you that not every circumstance calls for that extreme level of action. No,
it does not. So for me, as to whether we're going to see the end to these things, it will be quite difficult because for the political parties, what happens is that everybody tries to show their power when they get into office. So I'll show you where power lies. Mm-hmm. So if a group of people being attributed to me or associated to me or aligned to me are alleged to have done something, we just say, we will look into it, and all that is, then it's lights off. People have been maimed. People have had their limbs cut off. People have had bullets lodged in their thighs or their legs. People cannot do anything now. Some people have lost their eyes, their sight. And we just sit aloof and then think that business as usual. Let it go on. It hurts when people put themselves up for these so-called politicians, who at the end of the day, when you get into such a fix, they are not there to come
because their relatives are at home relaxing. not putting themselves in harm's way. But you, as a young man, you have been riled up, given this kind of false bravado. And once you meet, any kind of catastrophe, you are really on your own. I mean, at the time of the 2024 elections, we were hearing Blue Army, Green Army, and that's how, the fan base gets fired up. Like you're fighting for a cause. But at the end of the day, you are having to live without your limbs, without your hands, without your legs. Ultimately, who pays the price?
But you see, the point is that they also believe that this is the other side of the coin. They also believe that the state institutions or security institutions do not protect them well enough, so they have to have their own private security, take it into their own hands and do things that. But for me, it is so far-fetched from what reality is supposed to be and the tenets of somebody operating within the security apparatus. If person A is doing something wrong, why can't you prove the person wrong? Why can't you bring the person to book? But because when a policeman or a security officer goes to challenge a person related to the incumbent whose party is in power, the next minute they will transfer you from your comfort zone or from where you are operating to another area where perhaps you would not be comfortable. So some of these security men and women are quite careful when it comes to dealing with such situations. So it's a tall order, but it's a short list.
Certainly.
It's a very short list. All we need to do is that ensure that our security operatives are apolitical. They are apolitical.
Is that actually possible? Well, let's get onto our phone lines and speak with fraud and security analyst Richard Kumador. Hello, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Hope you're doing well this morning.
Yes, please. Thank you.
We've been having some discussion on what transpired at the Government Accountability Series yesterday, where the Interior Minister let Ghanaians know about some developments across different issues. I'd like you to weigh in, first of all, on the issue of illegal migrants in the capital and beyond, those that are seen begging and those that are seen selling and so on and so forth. From a security perspective, have we really looked at what the implications could be, or would you say anybody that has that concern is reading too much into it? What really could be the potential of harm on ordinary Ghanaians if this issue is not tackled appropriately?
So there are three things involved. One, it poses a lot of risk to road users and pedestrians. Number two, becomes to it creates some level of discomfort and some level of apprehension when they ask for money and people don't give them. So pedestrians could be affected, bystanders could be affected, road users, and many of those in that regard. Then number two, it also poses some level of public safety challenges for the state itself. And number three, it becomes a conduit scheme where human traffickers and migration criminal specialists may indulge in this particular act that has the highest potential of creating some level of vulnerabilities for the state at the highest level of security management. So these are the areas you look at it when it comes to dealing with streetism. Streetism is a major concern for many countries across the globe. And I think that even though we may have challenges with operations, how to get them out of the street, you would need a strategic national policy when it comes to streetism and the way forward. And that will guide many of the security agencies and the departments and units in the front line, making sure that some of these people we see, which are proven to be problematic and nuisance in our streets, are taken care of appropriately, in line with law and appropriate principles of human rights.
And so that is your perspective on that. What is that decisive action really that we need to be seeing? I mean, beyond the statistics and beyond the reading of these numbers, I mean, practically, at the start of last year or towards the first quarter, we saw a rounding up of these individuals. I mean, we went to bed, woke up the next day, and they were back at post.
So for practicality, once formalize the policy, streamline it, it will guide the law enforcement officers. When I had the opportunity of working with the police, anti-human trafficking. We did a lot when it comes to human trafficking and streetism. I've just completed a nationwide risk assessment. Streetism was one of the core elements we look out for. So practical solutions. Give them the national policy on the way forward and the guidelines when it comes to streetism and how to deal with it. It will empower the frontline agencies. Number two, there has to be collaboration among the agencies because many of them do things on an isolated basis. And once you create isolation, you are creating problems from the central command. Then number three, the state itself has signed some regional and international protocols and policies. We are a sovereign nation. We will need to look at it again, how to realign that strategy to determine what is allowed, what is not allowed, and what is permissible and what it is not. Then, when you get to the field, the state provides support for many of these people because there are human rights issues and there are civil liberties that you have to take care of. If the state can come into the fore so strongly and powerfully and tell the frontline agencies that when it comes to the international arena, in terms of geopolitics and international relations, we have signed on onto this, we have signed on onto that, but looking at it in terms of achieving national security guarantees and national sovereignty priority areas, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to do, we'll be fine. And we'll seriously be fine, and this wouldn't be a problem at all. And that is why I begin by saying practically it's a policy issue with less of operational challenges.
Thank you for that, Mr. Komodo. And the next issue that we wanted to pick your thoughts on has to do with election violence, but also sort of connected with that is this idea of security groupings, vigilante groupings. And we know that vigilante groups, particularly political vigilante groups, are not legal in Ghana. We've got specific laws on this. The Vigilantism and Related Offences Act 2019, which was passed specifically to disband vigilante groups and prohibit vigilantism. But we still appear to have these groupings in the system. From where you sit, is this something that is very rife? Are we seeing the back of it? And how does that relate to election violence? We see it during by-elections, we see it during main elections, even when we have elections within the parties themselves. It appears we're not able to get rid of this canker. What are your thoughts?
No, I think we don't want to get rid of it in the first place. We're just lying to ourselves and lying to everybody. We didn't want to enforce it. I had a passionate conversation in the studio before you put me on, and I agree entirely with what has been said. You had conversation with me on these things, and one of the things I keep on saying is that non-punishable of offenses will always rationalize bad behavior and promote antisocial tendencies in society. So if you go and shoot Kwame and his family, and the family do not have closure to what has happened, and the state is not prosecuting those who committed the violence, and investigations are not delivering immediate results, it means that having a closure to the issue will not be today. And those who have been affected, who are looking up to the state to act and the state is slowing down, they also take the law into their own hands and make sure they find justice in the street. And that is where we are. So this whole thing about vigilantism, yeah, we can attest to the fact that they are not as so active as they used to be, but we have to deal with it. That is why we have a law. Then, secondly, look at our elections in this country. It's a known knowledge and it's a known fact. The aspects of our elections are violent. Why? Because you have electoral commission and you have election officers who flout their own laws and flout the standardizations they set for everybody, and nobody does anything because we know that as black people and as Africans, we will never seek for accountability and nobody will be held responsible. So that is where we are. If we want to stop it, this is not rocket science. We've traveled across the group. We saw how it is done in some countries. We know that democracy, which we have ascribed to, election or electing our officers from region to local to national, is part of what we do. And we have to take steps in making sure that the process is fair, is transparent, devoid of criminality. But we are afraid of that aspect. Why we are afraid to do it rightly? That one we need to ask the gods. But with my over 30 years experience in this area, I can tell you strongly that they don't want to enforce it. And if they want to enforce it, just by tomorrow morning, nobody will be talking about vigilantism and issues that has happened where people needed to be prosecuted and why are they not being prosecuted.
Certainly. Now, before I let you go, I want us to take a listen to a 1-minute clip from the Interior Minister on something that the Special Prosecutor or personnel from the OSP made us aware of, some attempts on the Special Prosecutor's life. We'll talk about that and then we can wrap up on this conversation. So please take a listen for me.
The OSP and the assault and the investigations. Yes, I wrote to the CID. In fact, I mean, last week I was trying to, IGP is trying to pass something to me. Last week I had to ask the IGP where we are with it, and they promised that they are coming up with a report. So I'm sure once they bring the report, we'll let it be public, because I wrote officially demanding that they investigate and report. So last week I asked the IGP. He promised that they are working at it. So I will pursue that to ensure that they report on that.
This issue of the Special Prosecutor and attempted attacks on his life, is that an issue that we let slip by too easily, or do you think sufficient prominence was given to it?
No, when it comes to risk profiling of our frontliners, you remember just, I think, a few days ago, the Deputy Attorney General also spoke about a threat on his life, and some witnesses in the prosecution, some witnesses in a particular crime case they have prosecuted at the court. Many of our frontliners have come under threat. Journalists have come under threat. Even some of us who speak on national issues have been threatened. Our families have been bastarded, and many of these things. The risk profiling, the end of that goes to the state. And I think it is the responsibility of the state to provide adequate security for frontliners and for media personnel and for everybody who might have come under one level of threat or the other. But then again, the personalities involved also have a role to play. We've always been saying that your personal security is your personal responsibility. And in as much as the state will come to your aid, and the state must come to your aid, and you must raise alarm as quickly as possible and make sure you work with the state agencies when it comes to provision of security. You also have a duty to ensure that you take your personal security seriously, and that is the best way to go.
Certainly. Mr. Commodore, my colleague Patrice Amagashi is in studio. He's got a question, and then we'll bid you farewell.
All right, okay, Richard, thanks so very much, and we appreciate the work that you're doing. Mine has to do with just a simple one. Have you been able to draft any paper, document, or proposal that would speak practically to how these things ought to be done? Have you drafted anything like that we can lay hands on?
Specifically, mention one.
No, we're talking about the security of the state, and we're talking about the hawking and all those things, illegal things.
Okay, so if it is about streetism, because national security has various aspects, and security departments and agencies play various roles. So what basically the BNI will do is different from what Yoko officers will be doing and what immigration would do. So when you take a border town and you enter into that jurisdiction, you have a different types of units over there. And even though collaboratively they work together, there are divergences in what they do and what their reporting lines are. Number two, when it comes to streetism, these are issues that goes to the National Security Council, where all the national security institutions meet to take a decision. And I can say confidently that many of these issues would have been raised or have been raised, and there are documents here and there put together for discussions. What we need to be asking is, when we talk about a national law on streetism, when is it going to come out as a national security strategy? But that notwithstanding, all the agencies within the environment have structured laws and statutory laws they work with in relation to what they do in that regard. But to the extent that it is becoming a red flag, and the vulnerabilities are getting higher, as a nation, you will need a standardized documentation that will guide all the operational functions and the frontliners. But for me, what I do and the teams I lead, many of these things have been documented and they have been sent to the appropriate quarters.
Sincerely, I didn't get the answer that I was expecting, but I'll let it slide. Sincerely, I didn't get the answer that I was expecting.
No, you
but
can
I'll let
ask
it
me
slide.
again. And
No, I am asking, do you have a paper that if you were to meet the minister right now, you present to him that do A, B, C, D, E? Do you have a paper? Do you have a proposal?
You know when I'm speaking now, they are listening. And many of the things I'm telling you are things from our papers. And because of the way national security intelligence works, you use proverbs, you use wisdom, and you use practicality. And I can tell you from what I have done over the years, many of the things I do, I've just told Ellen, I've just finished the National Risk Assessment nationwide. Each year I do it twice, and the reports are given out to the appropriate centers for onward decisions. But the final decisions go way beyond my head.
Certainly, Richard. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
And do have a wonderful Tuesday. Richard Commodore is the fraud and security analyst. And those were some issues we were able to tease out from yesterday's accountability series and from what the Honorable Interior Minister had to say.
being back?
I'm in my 4th week now of being back. Yes.
Oh, I see.
Feels good to be back.
I've been asking of you.
Oh, really? They never
you
relayed the message.
You are Jakpa. The Nigerians say you are Jakpa.
Then the two of you are not good friends.
Not at all.
You are not good friends.
Not at all. And I put the blame squarely on council's
desk. That's an
desk.
allegation that we'll let Afenyo marking.
Uh-oh. Yes, I was very busy indeed, but I'm back now. I came with extra baggage.
Wow.
Extra luggage and extra baggage. Thank you so much.
That's a blessing.
Thank you so much. And it's good to see you. Hope you've been keeping well.
Very well, very well, very well.
Are you enjoying legal? Is legal vacation still on?
Yeah, we are still on.
Are you busy?
That's why he's dressed down like this.
Until 30th of September.
But have you been busy in that time?
No, we do go to court, this lower court.
Okay.
So circuit court, district court. We do. Even yesterday I was in court.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
okay.
I was in court, so
when are you going to get a chance to kick your feet up and, go to the Bahamas?
In fact, I was contemplating on...
Who's funding that trip?
I think it's a good question.
Oh, no. Austin is booked.
A good question.
He's a very busy... Council is busy.
I was driving home, that conversation, you hear the news. Right
busy.
on the head.
If you're funding it, no problems at all. I can tag along.
The Bahamas will require more money.
Yeah.
Not the kind of the one we do at the lower court, the district court, and those ones, they are not huge monies.
Oh, all right. If you say so. But it's good to see you. And we want to talk a little bit about this gold saga, as we call it. Let's play a soundbite from the Gold Board CEO, Sami Jemfi, and we'll